Hi, my name is Henk van Winkoop. I'm a member of the Repair Cafe in Dalfsen in the Netherlands. And I found this Christmas lightning in the electronics waste bin. Someone has dropped it there because it didn't work. I split it out on this board. You can see there are 3 sets of 10 strings. Each are connected here in parallel. It does not work. This is the power supply. It should deliver 3.3 volt. I measured it. It does deliver 3.3 volt. So something is wrong with the LEDs. These are, I think, very cheap Chinese LEDs. But we will find out what is the problem. To mount parts on the board, I'm looking for a cheap method, easy, and I use tire wraps. I just split them up in 3 centimeter parts, and then I cut them this way. You get this kind of things. You can bend them, and then you can put anything you want on the big board. First of all, I just did a reality check. Power supply, put it on, light is on. Nothing is happening as expected. To be sure that the power supply itself is okay, switch them on, and you will see it delivers 3.2 volts. It doesn't mean that if it's loaded with electronics that the voltage will keep its value, but we will going to find it out. I then measured the resistance of the whole string. It doesn't matter if I switch plus or minus. Both read 30.5 ohms, which is very, very low. The plus and the minus are also noticed on the sign in the connector, so you know what's the plus also here and what's the minus. But it's very, very low resistance. It looks like a short. What I'm going to do, I'm going to disconnect each of the 3 parts on one side of the power supply and see what happens. If I disconnect this, it's still 30 ohms. If I connect this one, disconnected, it's 21 ohms. Well, we are now still busy. I will disconnect the third one. It's, well, very high. It looks as if 2 of the 3 strings are not well, but we will measure each string. First of all, I isolated the right string, the right hand string, and I put the voltage on 2.3 volts. Nothing happens, but if I 2.4, I can see one LED has light up. I put it on 2.4, 2.5. Most LEDs are lighting up and some are, how strange, they are blinking. I don't know if that's by purpose or there's some other reason, but I raised the voltage to 2.7. Oh well, they still are blinking. 3.8, 3 volts. Okay, it's normal. Some LEDs should light up constantly and some should blink. They are a special kind of LED. Well, I must be honest, I made a mistake by cutting the wires. From one string I cut the plus and the other I disconnected the minus wire. But anyway, the right is okay, the right 10 strings with blinking LEDs. The left one is also okay, but it only has steady LEDs. The middle section, if I connect, you see sometimes a small now light up. If I look to my meter, the voltage drops, it draws about half ampere at 1.5 volt. So there is some short in the middle circuit of this string. Just for some information, the strings are connected to each other by 2 wires, so I think they all are connected in parallel. I'm not sure, but I guess. While still drawing a half amps, because the power supply has been limited on a half amps, I do not have an infrared camera, but I can feel this one is getting very hot, this LED. So I think that is the problem LED. It's interesting, this is the faulty LED, how it is made. 2 wires are going in, 2 wires are going out. It's like a very little PCB. And on the other hand, on the other side, there is mounted a LED like this one. Very, very tiny. Power supply is still going on, and I disconnect this LED. Look what happens. Only one LED is lighting on. Probably this difficult to see, but this is the faulty LED. I disconnected it on both sides, and those wires I just connected together. And if I switch on the power supply, look, all LEDs are lighting up again. So this was the problem LED. And to have some indication about the power that is used, I look at my power supply. It's about 100 milliamps it uses for one string of 10. So about the total should be about 300 milliamps. So finally I managed to connect all the 3 strings together. At 3 volts it draws about 360 milliamps. I go to 3.3. It's going into the limit. 500, 600, 700, 800. It draws a lot of current. It's about 800 milliamps. Set them on 1 amp. 800 milliamps. Very bright, but it works. So I finally sorted all the connections in the original way. Connected the power supply, switched the power supply on, and there it goes. It all works just by bypassing one little LED. So what I'm going to do with this? Well, I'm going to throw it back into the electronic waste bin, because I don't know what I have to do with it, with these cheap Chinese lights. But I was just curious how this system works, and I still look at this one, a blinking LED. I think there must be some circuitry on this little PCB. There must be some chip to let it blink. But anyway, it all works, and thank you for viewing. Have a nice day. As I am thinking about it, I think it's a shame to throw these things away, so maybe we can put them in some plant. So finally, I decided to put these LEDs into my plastic flower to lighten up life a little bit.